Hi guys, I'm back
Thank you.
with company, so that's why my bedroom's so noisy. So, my last video I did my Kaysen's birth story, and now I'm going to do Geo's. So, once again, same as Kaysen, pretty uneventful pregnancy. Jay and I decided to try for a brother for Kaysen, and the next month I was pregnant, so that was crazy. I definitely wasn't expecting that so soon. So I was kind of upset about a summer pregnancy because I was like, oh, it's going to be hot and everything, but I ended up being able to swim a lot every day and stuff, and that was really cool, so I recommend it. So, with Geo, I originally switched hospitals because I was not going to go back to Dr. Puckett, so I went to Women's and Children's and met with a midwife there, which I was really excited about, a more kind of low intervention approach. When the midwife found out that I was a VBAC, she informed me that she could not assist my birth, that I would have to see an OB for my birth, but that she could do my prenatal care, which was weird, but whatever. So I did switch to the OB. I met with her twice, and she seemed, at the first visit, which I think I was only about 8 weeks, she seemed pretty optimistic about my VBAC. By the next appointment, when I was about 11 weeks, she was already trying to talk me into getting an epidural during birth, like labor and delivery, and which I knew was not part of my birth plan, and I had told her already that I planned on a natural birth. And it was kind of she wanted me to do that because of the fear of uterine rupture. So obviously, with everything that went wrong with Kaysen's birth, I definitely had done a lot more research this time around, and knew a lot of what to avoid and everything like that. So this was a big red flag to me that this provider wanted me to have an epidural just in case of a rupture, when the likelihood of cord prolapse, for example, is much more likely than a rupture after one VBAC or after one cesarean. So, you know, and you don't try to talk every single mom that comes in into getting an epidural because of the risk of cord prolapse. So that just seemed crazy to me. That was a big red flag about this provider. So, and I was talking to Jason again about how, you know, with Kaysen, I had wanted a home birth, and we kind of went the hospital route because with it being my first baby, he was nervous, I was nervous, we wanted the safety net of a hospital, and that, like, totally failed us. So, you know, I was feeling totally comfortable with my body's ability to have a natural birth, even though, you know, I was told that I couldn't even have a vaginal birth. So, I'm sorry, guys, I had to pause, and I don't really remember where I was. So I think I was talking about how I was confident in my body's ability to give birth, even though I was told that I couldn't. So Jason wanted us to have a midwife. With it being my first vaginal birth and everything, he wanted a qualified professional here at the house to assist us. So we interviewed one here in Columbia, and I really liked her. She was really nice. She was definitely qualified. She had attended over 600 births. Her name was Kim James, and she was really nice. We just unfortunately weren't able to afford her services. So at this point, I had fired my OB. I was not going with her. So I pretty much had no prenatal care at this point. And we started preparing for a unassisted birth. Jay was pretty nervous, but I think he knew by this time that I was, like, so determined that there was just, you know, no other way, and he needed to support me. I believe I was on Facebook, looking for resources and groups that I could join, for more information for unassisted birth and support. And somebody referred me to Robin Massey with BirthWorks. So I interviewed her. We met at Panera, and I immediately liked her and felt like she was going to be the one to deliver my baby. So, well, not, I don't like that term, but be there with me and help me with labor. Um, so she worked with us on payment plans and stuff so that we were able to do that because she felt like, it probably wasn't a great idea to have an unassisted birth for our first time. And I didn't think so either, but I was just that determined to have my home birth. So it kind of just all came together with Robin. So fast forward, we're getting closer to the end of pregnancy. I had been having Braxton Hicks from about probably at least like 20 weeks or something. And around, I think 26 weeks, I performed my own cervical exam and found that I was 1 centimeter dilated. And Robin did not do cervical exam. She said she would if I wanted her to, but she was fine with not doing it. So I think about... No, it was 40 weeks. It was my due date. I had been having contractions every 6 to 10 minutes, and they weren't spacing out any further than that. The furthest apart they were going was 10 minutes. And so I had Robin come, and I think it was due for a prenatal appointment anyway. And she checked, and I was still 1 centimeter and almost like 100% effaced. And so that was exciting. And my contractions seemed to be getting a little stronger, but I tried to get some sleep that night, which didn't really happen. So the next day, we spent a lot of time. We actually went swimming for a couple hours with Kason and went to Walmart and just did some kind of last-minute things at home, set up our birth pool and everything. Something really intriguing about all of this was when I was pregnant, I came across an article about a birth moon. And so I looked into that, and it turns out I was born on the 4th, I believe, the 4th day of the new moon, and Kason was as well. And my due date was the 2nd or 3rd day of the new moon. And labor started on that day, so that was weird. 2 days of this, like, kind of slow, like, 10 minutes apart labor. Now, mind you, if I had been with the OB and had any kind of appointment around 40 weeks, I would have already been being pressured to be induced because I was a VBAC. Or to have a repeat cesarean because they don't like to induce VBACs, and they expect all VBAC babies to be born before 40 weeks, which is just crazy. Babies come on their own time. So... I keep having labor, and the second day, that night, around midnight, I was so fed up with these, like, contractions, because they were so painful that I couldn't really sleep, and I was trying to stay active to try to bring on, like, more active labor, but it just wasn't coming, so I just kind of gave up and was like, okay, I'm going to try to get some sleep. So finally, that was about midnight. And then I believe it was around 2 or 3 a.m. I was like, no, I can't sleep through these contractions anymore. So I got up and walked around a little bit and went and I think got something to eat or something. Came back in the room, and my contractions were staying around 4 to 5 minutes apart. So I was like, okay, time for a cervical exam, see, if things are changing yet, or if this is just, like, more intense, like, prodromal type labor. I was already, like, 4 centimeters, which was crazy to me because with Kason, that's, they told me I was, like, 3.5 or 4 when they end up doing my cesarean. So for my body to be working on its own naturally on my son's birth moon, which I had found out, that was just awesome. It was so exciting. So I called Robin. She told me to, she stayed on the phone with me for a little while and listened to some of my contractions and could tell that, I was really working through them and stuff. And so she told me she'd be on her way. And she came, and we moved my son into the living room to sleep so that we could kind of labor in the bedroom. And then I ended up doing a lot of labor in the living room anyway. My mom and dad came over. My mother-in-law, she came later. My father-in-law lives with us, so he was here. And then Robin. And then about, I think, 10 or 11, I think it was, her assistant came. So at this time, I'm about 8.5 centimeters, and I wasn't really progressing any further than that. I was there for a good, like, hour or two, and my bag of waters was bulging to where Gio's head couldn't really come down and kind of, you know, put the pressure that was needed to complete my cervix so that I could have him. So, Robin gave me the option to break my water, and I was super skeptical because I didn't want any kind of intervention. She actually did a sweep at 40 weeks because I had asked her to. I think the second day, so I was 40 and 1. I asked her to do a sweep when she checked me, and I think that kind of got things going. But it was just so good for me to have the, you know, informed consent was just so important. You know, having that done the first time without my knowledge or consent. So I was skeptical. I did not want my water broken. I was scared. Labor had already been like 2 days. I was so scared of it getting more intense. And I mean, I was scared of giving birth. So, but I was excited. This is a, she believed she could, and she did. I painted that. That was my birth affirmation that was by my pool. And then above that is a, picture that my sister painted for me, and then my Tree of Life placenta pictures that Robin made for me. So I did end up breaking my water. She told me to try, and I'm sorry guys, my face is itching. I couldn't break it, so she ended up using the hook and breaking my water in the tub. We have some pretty funny pictures of that because I was just like sitting back smiling with a cup of tea in my hand while she broke my water. So after that, labor was like pretty calm at that point. I had been in the tub, so that was amazing. That was like the best pain relief. I waited as long as I could through contractions on the birth ball, walking around, you know, everything else I could do till I needed the tub, and that relief was like amazing. But it definitely slowed labor down a little bit. So after we broke my water, I got in my little diaper and went outside, and Jason came with me, and we did some squats on a tire and walked around some more, and until it got like really intense, and then I came back inside, and we came back in the bedroom. I think we had some Bob Marley going on, and the vibe was just really cool. I wanted to try to get back in the pool to try to get that relief again because I knew transition was coming soon. And it wasn't as helpful. I, at this point, like, would have done anything to get away from my body. It was like, just like everybody says, it was the worst point. And, you know, now that I've had a natural birth, I can honestly tell you that my, like, it was like an hour of transition. That hour was as bad as my whole entire Pitocin labor with Kason. Like, his whole labor was like transition. It was that bad. So we won't be doing that again. But, yeah, you could see Gio's head bulging in my back when he was moving down, and that was like the most excruciating pain. I was like sitting on the toilet. I got in the shower and had Jay put hot water on my back. Then I was like, no, cold water. Robin was doing some rebozo shifting, and the whole labor, I was like so drained. I was just kind of like, like, you know, relaxing through contractions and stuff. And this is when I got serious, guys. I was like, listen, you're not listening to me. This baby is not coming. You need to take me to the hospital now. And Jay, like, reached his hand down there and felt, and he's like, babe, he's coming, like, right now. And Robin told me, she sat down, and she was like, we're not holding you hostage here. This is your birth. She was like, you can go to the hospital. I don't think you'll make it there, but you can go have this baby in your car, or you can decide where you want to push, and we can do that. And so that kind of like brought it to reality, like, okay, this is real. Like, I'm having a baby right now. Something I was told I could not do. So I tried to get back in the pool. I tried to push in there. I kind of had this weird, like, intuitive feeling that I would be that one, like, weird gal that does not like the water. As beautiful as water births are and as, like, amazing as it sounded, it just wasn't for me. I guess as a first-time pusher, I felt like I couldn't get enough like gravity under me to be able to feel like I was doing some really productive pushing. So I ended up wanting to be on my back in my bed, which, you know, they say is like the worst, but that's what I wanted. So at some point, I think I'd been pushing for like a half hour. I tried, like I kept thinking in my head, I was like, this is a really bad position. I need to turn over for some reason. So I got up and like flipped onto all fours and immediately flipped back over because it was like so painful. So after about an hour I've been pushing, somebody said the time and I was like, what time did I start pushing? And I just realized my labor had been almost 3 days and I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm just gonna do it. So I like gave it all I had, pushed, and there he was. And, my birth video is like everybody in the room so excited. You know, it's obviously me like quietly like pushing out this baby and then everybody like, oh my god, here he comes, and like Jay, like, you know, dad crying in the background, and then just me going, oh my butt, because it hurt. So that's a great memory for the rest of my life. But yeah, I hemorrhaged afterwards, and Robin had told me, like early into our prenatal visit, she told me, you know, that she would never do anything without my permission, unless the baby was not breathing or unless I was losing too much blood. So they hand me Gio, and he's not crying, and I guess, you know, everybody thinks that the baby should cry, so I'm like, is he okay? And they're like, he's fine. But then I realized, like, they were really busy down there, and Robin was kind of like looking at her watch, and then they start giving me shots, and so I'm just like trying to stay calm at this point, like I know something's not good. So I finally ask, I'm like, am I okay? And they're like, you're fine, you're just losing a little more blood than we like. But they finally got the hemorrhage stopped, and I didn't have to transfer, so I got to spend the first hour after I gave birth nursing Gio, bringing Kason to meet him, you know, spending it with my family. It was just like the most beautiful like thing that I could imagine. Sorry, I knew I was gonna cry. But at least not because what I was crying in the last video. Yeah, so I'm so glad that we didn't go unassisted. Robin just was like the best thing that could have happened to our family. She made a world of difference in our birth, and she's so amazing. So yeah, that's Gio's birth story. The only thing, hopefully, hopefully I do want to try for a water birth next time, now that I know how to push. That was such a weird feeling, like trying to figure out, you know, how to push a baby out. But now that I kind of, you know, have done it, I think I might be able to do that next time. And I think that will help with, some of the pain and like tearing and problems like that I had with Gio's birth. But yeah, Robin is really what inspired me to want to go into birth work. And I am starting with being a doula, but I think eventually I would like to be a midwife, because there's no comparison to, you know, somebody that cares about you and about your baby and about your birth. And in the hospital setting with the OBs and even the midwife, I didn't have that. So, yeah. I'm going to end this video because I don't know what else to say and I need to blow my nose. So, again, if you guys have any questions or any feedback or anything, feel free to post it. And I'm going to work on what I'm going to share with you guys next week. So, thanks for watching.